Nicholas Cohen. I'm the writer and director of Rising Sign and the Elements feature film, of which it's the second story. Rising Sign is about a guy who works in the lost property department of the airport, but actually he thinks he's a poet, and he's composing a poem which he thinks will bring his ex-wife back to him. He's friends with all the beautiful air hostesses in the airport, and there's one in particular who always tells him of all her exploits. Gradually, she realizes that they're in love, but he is resistant and reluctant. So really the story is a lot about letting go, which suits the element of air and lightness and comedy and love.
Rising Signs is, I think, probably Nick Cohen's best writing effort to date. It is superb. It is very funny and touching, and it flows off the page. It's very, very good. I think he's a very talented comedy writer.
Brian Levine, the executive producer, he brings the benefit of his background as a top city lawyer. So he's very good with all the contractual and distribution and sales side of things, negotiating once the film is made. The producer, Andy Kelleher, has a very solid track record, delivering lots of projects on budget, on schedule, whether they're big budget or small budget.
So what attracted me to this film was initially the script which I read, which I thought was a fantastic read and saw lots of potential. I also, having spoken to Nick a number of times, knew that this was a director I was in good hands with. And that was further compounded when I saw Lessons in Life Saving, which I thought was an excellent short film.
We're going to go down, hold our breath underwater. Last one up is the winner. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go!
Lessons in Life Saving was one of those distinctive short films that stand apart from the crowd.
Well, I was, a friend of Nick's and Nick's dad, and we were family friends, and so we always had a sort of a family connection as well as a professional connection.
Robbie came to Hollywood and did a couple of short films and won a couple of Oscars. So he's very useful in terms of knowing the taste of the Academy and knowing what kind of things are likely to be looked on with favor there.
So I'd suggested that Nick do something, personal.
Are you married? Mm-hmm. Is he a sailor?
When I saw the finished article, I think he did exactly what he set out to do. It's a classy piece of creative filmmaking, and it shows him, as a director of actors, the concept, the visuals, all the rest of it.
Lessons in Life Saving is the first story in an anthology feature film which will be made up of 4 stories, all about the 4 elements: earth, air, fire and water, but the elements in an urban, contemporary, relevant setting.
The good thing about that is that you can have a feature film with 4 parts, the 4 quartets, that fits in to an Oscar format, to any other format for commercial presentation, which can be sold throughout the world.
Each of the stories will have its own visual style that reflects the element. Air, we're using aerial photography and time-lapse. Fire, we want to be very cutty, choppy, dramatic. Earth, we're going to use a lot of wide shots, objective shots. And for the water, which we've already shot, there's a lot of underwater scenes, but also we've aimed for a very fluid camera work, a lot of Steadicam, crane, focus pulling, shots that continue and extend and develop. So that's never been done really in a feature film, to have 4 different styles which reflect each one the content of the story.
When I was first talking to Nick about how we were going to achieve aerial photography in a short film with a relatively small budget, I actually introduced Nick to the idea of home visual effects. It's amazing how technology is really advanced these days, because if you've got a high-speed computer and the right software, you can really achieve high-end visual effects in your bedroom. A good example of this actually is a feature film that came out by a director called Gareth Edwards. The film was called Monsters. A lot of people, they didn't realise that he had only had a very minimal budget on this feature film, but he had the right computer, the right software, and he had the knowledge on how to actually create very high-end visual effects for this feature film.
And I wanted to use a lot of time-lapse and aerial photography to show change, that life is really all about change if you can embrace it.
As an example of what's achievable, we took a still image of a volcano erupting. I was able to learn how to actually turn the still image into a moving piece of film, as if you were in a helicopter filming a volcano that was actually erupting.
So Rising Sign is an upbeat film, it's a comedy. It's going to have bright colours. It's going to be filmed with time-lapse and aerial photography with a lot of energy to it to give it a dynamism and a flow that captures the quality of air.
We are aiming this film at the Academy and we hope that it wins an award. We have been advised by an Academy member and former Academy Award winner on a strategy on how to get there, and we need to make sure that it meets a very high standard to be nominated.
I think the story is a beautiful story. It is very touching, humorous and funny, and it is perfect for a short film.